Hi, Nicole here with Dear Teacher Instructional Coaching. So, in one of my earlier videos, I had said that I could do an entire segment, if you will, on PowerPoint and the things that you can do with PowerPoint and how you can use that to publish like a video. So, I'm going to go through just some really cool things that you can do with PowerPoint. One thing to keep in mind though is that PowerPoint's online version has like some different features and lacks some of the capabilities that PowerPoint, your desktop version, has. So one of the cool things that you can do is if you create something with like the online features that maybe the desktop doesn't necessarily have, you can download it and then overlay with other things that you want to do with the desktop feature. So that is one way to kind of work around and get the best of both worlds, is start online, then download and use stuff on the desktop. So that being said, I'm going to start with showing you a few things about the online version of Microsoft PowerPoint. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is actually a design feature in PowerPoint. And one of the ways that this really helped me was when I was getting really terrible presentations from my students. And so this was kind of a good starting point to teach them how to be putting information in and getting a design. And once they started getting used to this design feature, they started to become a little bit more creative on their own. So it's almost like giving them an exemplar. So I'm going to just start creating, I'm going to go a presentation. Common bottlenose dolphin, endangered species. I'm going to add a new slide, title and content, add slide. So I'm just going to make this general information, even though technically speaking, the common bottlenose dolphin is not on the endangered species list anymore. I use this as an example, 6 to 12 feet long. They can weigh up to 1,000 pounds or more, and they can live up to 50 years old. Okay, so basic general information. Now what's cool is after you've got that information on there, you can click this design, and then over here, I showed my students, click on the designer button. And on the side, it'll show you different ways that you can put in that information. Now, what I think is kind of funny is how they do things like this. So when something is long, the giraffe, the pounds, the baby, how old. So kids are like, oh, that's kind of neat. And they start to get ideas for how else they could signify length, weight, and age. Another example of something you can do. So if I insert new slide, title and content. Actually, let's just go back here. I'm going to insert a picture. Let's just go to a big picture. And we are going to go dolphin. And I always have them click Creative Commons only just to keep things safe. Let's put that in. But now, notice on the sides, you haven't moved anything, but now that I have that designer open, like how cool is that? I'm gonna go ahead and pick that one. Common bottlenose dolphin. So automatically, it changes things and rearranges stuff, and it just makes your presentation a little tighter. Now notice when I navigated back to this second one, it gave me even more options. So other ways I could do it. Ooh, I like that. So when I showed my students this, you guys, it completely blew their minds. And the presentations that they started to produce were so much better. Just all around aesthetically pleasing. And then they started to figure out how to edit it and change it and make it their own. And they started to become more creative. So once they had these exemplars to look at first, then things got a little bit more creative for them. So that's the first thing you can do, is teach them how to use. Remember, it's under design, and then it's this designer button, and it'll open it up on the side for them. So that's one thing you can do with PowerPoint online. The next thing I'll show you is the transitions and animations. So a transition is simply the transition from slide to slide. And so if I have this morph in, how long it lasts, and then there's other options that you can do too if you want words to come in, characters, all that kind of stuff. Now you could simply apply that same transition to all of them, but of course, especially our students really love to do different things. And some of these have become really cool. So they have like ones that are subtle, ones that are exciting. And so kind of talking about what they want the kids to do, or what you want, how these can be effective. There is one, crush. That's what it is. This one that says crush, I'll keep that more, click this one. We'll do that one as crush. I was talking about, I did a presentation for my students on banned books. And so when I transitioned from this slide to this slide, it literally looks like it's crumpling paper. It is the coolest thing. So if I go to the presentation mode, it crumples it up. Like, how cool is that? I know it's kind of a goofy thing, but if you're doing anything that has to do with like paper, transitioning into one where you're saying something kind of negative, crumpling it up is something really cool. So they started talking to each other about that, and that is something that has to do with design and media and presentation. It is an important skill for them to learn. They shouldn't just be picking random ones and talking about how you can make your transitions work for you. The other thing that you can do is animations, of course, and that's for like individual words or text that's on here. So you'd have to select. Now, one of the things that's interesting is now that I have this as a design, I can have it. So if I go up here, options, see, these are kind of figured as bullet points. See how they're bullet points over here on the side? So if I have them as one object all at once, or I have them come in one by one, that's all going to be edited based on how they have that written in there like this. So you have to pay attention to that. That's something important. And of course, you always teach your students to preview. So the transitions is the entire slide. The animations is the stuff on the slide itself. One of the other things that we talked about with animations was similar with transitions is how do you make things work for you? So entrance, you can have specific things come in. If you want something emphasized, so we talked about like with statistics that were really important, like in an argument, having something like grow or spin or the color change, it was something that was really impactful. And then of course, if you want something to exit out. So we had actually talked about when we did our argument, how it was interesting, how we could use an exit if we were trying to refute the counterclaim. So we had our claim, we acknowledged the counterclaim, and then we explained why the counterclaim was wrong. And so we like moved that information off the slide and replaced it with other stuff. So that was really cool to see too. And these are just great conversations. So it's not just, oh, I'm putting this fun stuff in. It's how can you make these animations work for you as well as the transitions. So something really cool for you to work with your kids on when you're talking about media and presentations, transitions and animations. So those are just a couple of things about Microsoft Word Online. I'm sure you're thinking, why are you showing me those features only on the online version? Why aren't you showing me them on the desktop version? Because they're both available on the desktop version. And that's because not everybody has that on their computers. Some people only have web-based devices, and there isn't like a hard drive or much of a hard drive that you can really be downloading information to. So in one of the schools I worked in before, we had Chromebooks, and there was very minimal, from my understanding, there was very minimal storage on those, and so we were never having kids download stuff. So the next part of what I'm going to show you is something that can only be done, things that can only be done on that desktop version. So this availability isn't necessarily out there for the online version, at least yet, or at least to my knowledge. This is how I make the desktop version work for me. So since the PowerPoint Online has limited capabilities, at least that I have discovered, I'm going to save a copy. Not save a copy. I'm going to download as, and I want to download a copy to my computer because I will be able to edit it. Presentation ready. I will go ahead and download. Allow, because I already downloaded it once. Go ahead and open it up. And now I will need to select Enable Editing to have full capabilities to edit everything on this. Now you'll notice that there is still design and having your design ideas that you can do. There's transition, there's animations, but there's a few other things that are really awesome about doing PowerPoint on the desktop version. And one of my favorite things was doing, because a lot of teachers use PowerPoints when they're lecturing or doing notes or things like that. So if you wanted to do a voiceover, you have to make sure that you have your recording set. So you go File, Options, then this Customize Ribbon, and then over here where it says Main Tabs, you'll scroll down and see where it says Recording. You need to click that and then click OK. And now you'll notice Recording popped up between View and Help. And this is where things can get really, really awesome. So you can put in either audio you've already recorded on your PC, or you can record sound directly onto the slide. So if I just click this is my presentation about the common bottlenose dolphin. I stop it, I click OK. And then it gives me this adorable little speaker that I can kind of move or put wherever. So once you do that for all of your slides, that's the audio and recording sound. You can do screen recording as well. It shows your actions related to this stuff. But the other part of this that I really like with the recording tab is you can save it as a slideshow. So what happens when you do that is when the students open it, it immediately launches into the presentation mode. So they don't see all of this where the stuff's on the side is just automatically in slideshow mode. And so the like kind of negative with that is they can't really like stop it, or like they can pause it, that's fine, but it's just a little bit different. They can export it as an actual video, but notice that it says the video will not include interactive elements, or you can publish it right back to Stream, which should be connected to your Office 365 account. So there's all of those options, but you have to make sure you have the recording enabled. Recording is my absolute favorite part of PowerPoint desktop version. Up until this point, I have not figured out how to do that on the online version. So if somebody knows how to do that, like, please shout out, because I would be curious to know how to do that. It would be nice to have everything just located on the online version. I just haven't played around with it enough, or maybe it's honestly not a capability that I've been able to discover yet. So things that you can do online and on the desktop version would be the designer piece, which will create pretty slides for you after you put your content and pictures on there, animations and transitions. And then again, to the best of my knowledge, you can only voice record and publish as either a slideshow, a video file, or save it to your stream. That capability is on the desktop version of Microsoft PowerPoint. I realized too, one of the cool things, because I'm not the only 7th grade language arts teacher in my district, so if I make a lecture video about theme, I can put it on stream, and then everybody in my district could access that if I allow that capability on that stream video. So that would be a really great way to file share across, within the building, or even across schools in a district, to maybe make for that viable curriculum that everybody's kind of on the same page and at least teaching the same definitions of terminology. So there's a thought for you on that. And then that way, if you're going to talk like 6 different literary elements, each teacher takes 2. And you figure out exactly what you want them to say, define, and each teacher just makes their own video, and that way you're dividing up the work a little bit too. So another thought for you there, let's work smarter, not harder. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have a really awesome day. With love.